Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, August 8th, 2018. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. Bax, I think you and I are in agreement that Urban Meyer absolutely should keep his job unless there's salacious details we're not privy to. If everything that we know is true, then I feel like he should keep his job. I know you feel like he should keep his job. Let's talk about what we think will happen. Unfortunately, Ohio State doesn't always do what we think should happen, even though they should just always, contact us and count, get our feelings on things back. But as you analyze this, what do you think ultimately will happen with Urban Meyer?
Well, I don't know why Ohio State doesn't call us. We'd be the most logical, sound decision makers they have. I don't think it's a stretch to say we'd be better at athletic directing than Gene Smith, but that's a different subject. What I do think is going to happen is I do not think Ohio State gets rid of Urban Meyer. Again, barring something that we just don't know about that is just completely story-changing. And I have to think Brett McMurphy would have gleefully screamed about it if he knew about it at this point at the top of his lungs, saying, I swear I'm impartial, but Urban Meyer murders animals at the Columbus Zoo for fun. That's the sort of thing that he'd be putting out at this point. So you have to think at this point that if there's something big, it's out. And Urban wouldn't have had that statement clearly vetted by his lawyers that was put out with the intent express statement of, there is no way in hell you're going to fire me with cause here. So think long and hard about your options. I don't think Urban Meyer is going to lose his job over this. I think the question is whether Ohio State's going to feel pressure from the media to suspend him for something. But here's the thing, if Urban followed other reporting requirements and everything we can tell elsewise is true, what are you suspending him for? Maybe not being truthful with the media, and after what we found out about McMurphy changing his report from arrested to investigated after Urban talked at media days, it makes him look like way less of a liar than I thought before. And for those of you who aren't aware, the initial McMurphy report said that Zach Smith was arrested, and then Urban was responding to that the next day at Big Ten Media Days going, I don't know who would make up something like that because he wasn't arrested. Well, then McMurphy quietly changed the story to investigated and makes Urban look like he was just trying to blow the whole thing off big dog style, which is what I had criticized him for in the bucket this week. I'm not even convinced Urban wasn't being completely untruthful in that spot. I think the whole Urban lied to the media thing is way less when you consider it how McMurphy's changed his report. And I think his reporting has shown to be more than a little biased after that article going after Shelley Meyer yesterday, and that was the biggest nothing burger I've ever read in my life. So at this point, whether OSU caves to the pressure from the media to suspend him for a game or two is really, I think, what the question is at this point. And the other question is whether Gene Smith keeps his job, because this has been a lot of bad publicity for OSU that Gene Smith's directly responsible for.
Looking back to Coach Meyer's statement that he released last Friday, there's a couple ways to look at this. And the way I looked at it was, this is exactly what he needed to do. I said all along, if he just would have got up at Big Ten Media Day and said, no comment would have been the best thing. If he was going to say anything, just say, yeah, we were aware of the 2015 incident, maybe apologize for keeping Zach on the staff that long. No comment would have been the best thing. But my point is, I thought he needed to come out and at least say something, and he did. The more I thought about it, though, I'm thinking, could that have been like a first salvo that he feels like his job is in jeopardy? And like you said, he wants to make it clear, like, if you guys fire me, I am going to fight for every penny of that $38 million. So I don't know how to take it. One minute I thought it was a good thing, then I thought, man, does Urban think he's about ready to lose his job and he's like trying to throw the first punch here? Just as you look back on that statement that he released, good or bad?
Fantastic. Where would we be if he hadn't made that statement? We'd be arguing whether Urban did or didn't know, did or didn't report, questioning a lot of different things right now. And him putting that statement out, at the same time Zach Smith is like, Urban told me if he found out I hit her, I'm fired. That made a big sort of change in things, because it wasn't just that Urban made a statement. It wasn't like he just, went on Twitter and said, hey, guys, sorry about all this, I'm doing my best or something. Like, that statement was clearly vetted in a legal fashion. He clearly had lawyers reviewing that with him. And to me, that statement, not only did it clear up, like you said, a lot of the whole, you need to be a little contrite about things, but it also cleared up any question of whether Urban knew and what was involved. And at this point, from the Smith interviews, he said that Gene Smith specifically called him in from the road. Well, guess what? That's Urban's boss. Urban's job is to tell Gene Smith, and after that, he's supposed to let things play out. And it sounds like that's what he did. So, again, maybe there's more that we don't know. But as of right now, what is he even suspended for?
That's my question, and I think it would be placating the media, placating the public relations.
Which is pathetic, by the way.
And that might make it worse.
If Ohio State is placating the media, it's pathetic, and Gene Smith should be fired immediately for kowtowing to pressure from nobody who has anything. There's no legal ramifications. There's no NCAA ramifications. There's no criminal ramifications here. If this is Gene Smith going, Urban, I need to put you on administrative leave because the media is being mean to me, then it's just the same Gene Smith with no backbone that we've had to deal with forever here, and he needs to get the hell out of that office. That's ridiculous. If that's all Urban Meyer is suspended for is, the media is being mean, then that's ridiculous. And Gene needs fired because every other athletic director in the country, I put this in the bucket. I said every other athletic director in the country spat their drink out when they saw it and then immediately started calling Urban's agent like, hey, does he want to coach next year here if they fire him for this BS? So, if that is all Urban Meyer is suspended for, Gene Smith should have been fired last week. And we'll find out whether that's all Urban's suspended for or not within the next week and a half here. And I'm going to be real interested then to see what the Ohio State's people in charge do at that point.
Yeah, I think this is above Gene, Bax. I think he's not the one making these decisions. I think it's the board, it's this committee, it's President Drake, because he's being investigated too. I think if Urban ends up getting his job back but is suspended, first of all, I wouldn't agree with that because either fire him or keep him. What are you suspending him for? I agree. It would be just to try and placate some people on the outside, even though you think he didn't do anything wrong, because if he did something wrong, he would just fire him. I think this goes above Gene. I really do. But I think if they do decide to bring Urban back and with a 4-game suspension, I think that'll come from above Gene Smith.
Well, it wouldn't. I mean, Michael Drake's making the final decision here, so that is above Gene Smith. And I know it sounds stupid in a university with a multi-billion-dollar endowment and everything like that, but this is the most impactful thing Michael Drake's going to do as the OSU president in the eyes of most people who are alumni or, tied to this university, is how is he going to decide this decision with Urban Meyer. But, truth be told, if you had an athletic director who had a spine, he would have stood behind his coach. This is a wagon circling moment if the truth is what Urban's letter said. It's not let's put Urban out there on a skewer and we'll see if we pull him back in. And I know Michael Drake's going to make the final decision here. They brought in a panel that's going to investigate stuff. But, if you're Urban Meyer, what are you supposed to do? You hear about this, you tell Zach, if you find out it's true, he's fired. Your athletic director clearly knows if he's calling Zach in from the road. And then you have to trust the police to make the decision. And in Ohio, again, if there's a domestic violence case that the police can make, they can choose whether or not to press charges no matter what the victim says. So it's not like Courtney Smith told them not to press charges. She doesn't have that legal right with this particular crime in the state of Ohio. So if you're Urban, you go, all right, I don't know what in the world's going on here, but the cops didn't press charges. Then you can say, okay, well, what is he supposed to do at that point? You can criticize him for for continuing to renew Zach Smith's contract for a couple of years. You can criticize him for maybe believing his story because of familial ties. I know I certainly have, but I'm not quite sure what he's supposed to do in that situation other than continue as is for at least another year on it. Otherwise, Zach Smith can sue the university for being fired without a good reason. That's a wrongful termination lawsuit there. So. To me, this is one where it's like, yes, it's an icky situation, and most of us are kind of grossed out by the whole thought of Zach Smith being on the staff after these accusations. And nobody wants to have anybody who does anything like that as part of their business or life. But I don't know how Urban's responsible for Zach Smith's actions, like everybody seems to make him out to be. He is not a Joe Paterno cover-up monster like the idiot media and the morons on Twitter are trying to make it out to be.
Let's talk some actual football. You and I are in agreement, just to go back, just for the listeners out there, you and I are both in agreement that he will keep his job and he should keep his job. So I'm not 100% confident he will. I'll just say that. I'm 100% confident he should. I think he will, but you never know what the higher-ups at Ohio State are thinking. But you and I are in agreement that he will keep his job. Again, I wouldn't bet the house on it, but hopefully that happens. Let's talk some actual football. The Buckeyes had a practice. Part of it was open to the media yesterday. It's hard to – they're not actually out there playing football while we're out there. They scrimmaged yesterday after we left. But it looks like, just from looking at the drills, Pete Werner is at least repping at middle linebacker. That is very interesting to me. I've been very high on Pete Werner. Even though Tuff Borland was out there too, Urban said at Big Ten Media Day he was optimistic Tough Borland would be back early in the season, but he said there's no way he's going to be ready for September 1st against Oregon State. So even though Tough Borland was out there running around, that was a great sign. But don't expect him to be back week one, Bucknutters. But I thought Pete Werner working at middle linebacker was very intriguing. Just anything else that you read or saw that you want to comment about practice yesterday, Bax?
It's so hard to tell. I think it's interesting that they had Michael Jordan playing some center. I don't know if that's just a fallback option or if they think, hey, our three best guys on the field are going to be Bowen and Knox at guards and Jordan at center. Those are our three best interior linemen. Let's figure out how to get them on the field. That's intriguing to me because we've talked about the center position for a while, but it's always going to be, will Josh Myers just beat Brady Taylor? It's not necessarily been, Michael Jordan might move to center. And Ohio State has a long history of guards moving over to center. I mean, Elflein and Billy Price were both guards to start and eventually moved over to center. So I find that intriguing. But again, we didn't see enough. I've been to these early media sessions. I was at the one of these sessions for OSU a couple years ago. It was the year Braxton threw his arm out, like the week right after the session I was at. And all you did was see Braxton throw lollipop tosses, and everybody was reporting, Braxton looked smooth, looked like his arm was okay. And then he throws it out of the socket like 4 minutes later, So you can never tell any of this stuff. We don't see enough. It's intentional that way. This was saying, here you go, media, you can watch us practice, right? So this will give you guys something to talk about and stay off our back while we actually do the real stuff after we make you leave. So, I like Warner at middle linebacker. I like the idea of maybe Michael Jordan at center if they think that's the best five linemen. But we really didn't see enough to know anything. That's the simple truth.
That is very true. Hopefully we get to see some more next time when we're out there. It was good being out there and actually seeing some football yesterday, though. I will say that. Thank you very much to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. He always comes strong. Thank you, Bax, and thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's try that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.